Os.
Us.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Japan Chronicles. Rather than me talking too much right at the beginning, because I'm going to be doing lots of talking today, I'll get Sensei Pat to introduce our special guest, which I'm sure everyone's all been waiting for. So Sensei Pat, over to you.
Us, thank you, Shihan, and thank you to our watchers, listeners. We have a very, very, very cool guest here. One on our guest list, on our wish list that Shihan Sean put together. Narushima Shihan, Us, thank you for taking the time. Listeners, this is Sean's floor today. Let's see him in his magic. You know, no pressure, Shihan Sean, but let's keep this fun. Let's keep this enjoyable. What an honor it is to have such a legend on our show. Shihan Sean, we look forward to seeing how this goes. Listeners, we've got a lot planned here. So we've only got Shihan Narushima for just under an hour. So we will do our best, and we look forward to it. Us.
Okay, so let me get underway. So as Pat has said, we're going to be using two languages here today, Japanese and English. So I'll be asking Narushima Shihan some questions in Japanese. He will then answer. I'll do a quick, concise sort of translation of it. Sensei Pat, like we just said, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in. では早速始めたいと思います。すいません、お忙しい中、時間を作っていただいて。ありがとうございます。師範も最近いろいろと、忙しくて、世界中飛び回っているというのも、遠くから、応援の気持ちも含めてですね、見てますけれども、皆さんも成島師範のことを知らない人がいないぐらい、大活躍で、長年、極真会館に所属されていて、そこからお父様の、陽陰塾、の引き継ぎっていうことで、成島道場っていうのを、やっておりますけれども、また最近になって、KWU Senshiキャンプであったりとか、ついこの間帰国されたというのも記憶してるんですが、スペインの、ティネオ、先生の合宿であったり、そういった意味で忙しいんですけれども、極真から一旦離れてからこうやっていろいろとまた関わるようになって、いかがでしょうか。
僕は、2年前に、大体2年前になるんですけども、極真会館ずっと、所属してたんですけれども、離れることになりまして、で、一旦、うちの父親が起こしている陽陰塾というところに身を寄せるというか、陽陰塾境内の成島道場として始めるんですけれども、で、その中で、いろんな国のいろんな団体の方からお声掛けいただいて、ぜひキャンプに参加してくれとか、そういう話をたくさんいただいた中で、できる限りというか、多くの方に求めていただけるならば、お答えしていきたいっていうスタンスでずっとやってきまして、で、その中で、極真会館と、が認められないような、組織と、関係することによって、極真会館側から、側の方から、友好団体、続ける気あるのかみたいな、確認もあったりしながら、で、ちょっと好きにやらせていただきますということで、いろんな、要望というか、求めていただく言葉に答え続けたいなっていうのが、一つありまして。で、そこで活動していくうちに、去年で言うと、ティネオキャンプに参加してみたりとか、そういった活動をしていく中で、KWU から話をいただいて、今年に入ってから、キャンプに参加したや、正式にそこと KWU に所属するというか、そういう形の方向になりました。
ありがとうございます。じゃあこれちょっと簡単に英語でまとめます。 So I just asked Narushima Shihan about his recent transition. As you all know, a very acclaimed, very successful fighter in his day. I won't go through the list. It's very easy to find out all of his accomplishments online.
Mhm.
Let's just say they're fantastic. 2 years ago, as he is just explained to me now, he left what is called the Aiko 1 or the Matsui Kancho faction. And originally there, he was saying he left on good terms to go and take over his father's karate organization,
Yes.
which is known as Youin-Juku. It's a karate organization that his father created, and it was time for him to take over the reins.
Yes.
When he originally left, he was saying he had set up a friendly relationship with the Aiko 1, and then from there, with Spain, with Tineo Sensei in Spain, later on with the KWU throughout Europe, he started to get a lot of requests for people from people to go over to instruct at camps.
Yeah.
And that's part of his passion, is to, convey what he's learned to as many people as possible. It did come with ramifications in terms of the ICO 1 asking him what his stance was, because they don't recognize those other organizations. He politely told them that he wanted to continue to be active internationally with, no borders.
Yeah.
And so that, as a result, that has sort of severed that relationship with the ICO 1. However, since then, he has officially joined the KWU as their Japan representative, and is looking forward to contributing in any way he can moving forward.
That's exciting. Very good. Thank you. Us.
背景はそういうことであるということで、7月は2回ほど海外、遠征っていうのが、ありまして、まず、ブルガリアの方に行かれたと、いうのも見てますけれども、そこでマスター師範であったりとか、フィリオ師範であったりとか、様々な世界でどこ行っても名前を知らない、人がいないぐらいの、大活躍の方ばっかりと、またそうやって一緒に稽古できたことについて、どんな気持ち、だったんでしょうか。
その極真離れて、本当にうちの親父の元に身を寄せて、極真会館とは友好団体として活動していくっていう、選択をして、で、のんびりやっていこうかなって思ってたんですけれども、世界の方からすごくいろいろ、キャンプに参加してくれとかいろんなお話をいただく中で、まだ役割というか、あるのかなと。で、その KWU から、フランシスコを介して、話をいただいたときにも、なんか楽しそうな、趣旨に、賛同できるというか、ここでもう一回、ちょっと一生懸命やってみようかなと思うような、内容がありまして、で、こうやっていろんな縁があって、こういった依頼を受けたときに、自分のためにもこの極真のためにもなるのかななんて、感じまして。で、実際今回も初めて夏のバルナのカムチャキャンプっていうのを参加して、すごく、楽しくて、内容もすごく、良かったし、そのキャンプの間に試合があったりしたんですけれども、今後の方向性っていうものを、感じることができて、この組織の可能性もすごく感じることができて、ここを選択してよかったなっていうのが、正直なところ。で、まだ、KW としては、再編があって、新しくスタート切るような、状況の中なんですけれども、この組織の可能性をすごく感じて、また自分に何ができるかなっていうことの、楽しみでも、 もすごくあります。
ありがとうございます。So the next question I just asked now was what it was. He's had a busy month in July. He's been to Bulgaria and then to Spain. Bulgaria with the KWU, which has gone through its own reorganization and is flourishing. It was actually from Shihan Filio that he was put onto that camp and encouraged to come along and talk about future possibilities. And like he touched upon before, at first he wanted to do the right thing with his long connection with IKO1, but felt a huge potential in what the KWU was doing, what other organizations were doing by being non-political, by really focusing on great organization. He just mentioned now that going to the Bulgaria camp, he was very impressed by the way it was organized. With not just the training sessions, but there were tournaments, there was a kickboxing event. The organization was top notch. And he also said that the content was really well thought out. So he's thankful for that, chance to connect. And it made him think that there's more he can contribute to the world of Kyokushin as well. And after he left initially to take over his father's dojo, he was thinking he wanted to just, really focus on that and take life a bit easier because he'd been very busy in many different sort of, I would say, many different sort of roles that he had. But when he saw the way they were doing things properly with passion, that he wanted to, he naturally came to think they wanted to be part of that. And if there was something he could offer in terms of what he has gained throughout his karate life, then that would be an excellent platform to do it. So he's looking forward to contributing more, but that's how he felt about his recent trips.
He did. While we're on that, before we move into other things, if you could ask, so I had the fortune, let him know, of fighting Sensei Taneo in 09, right? And that led me to so many, open mind of like how strong someone could be and so on. They did 300 rounds in their latest camp in Barcelona. Can you gesture to him how he saw that? Had he ever done that? What was his feedback on that in a positive way? Please.
Okay, fine. パット先生からの質問なんですけれども、スペインに、行かれて、テニオ先生が、主体となったその合宿の中で、いろいろ SNS 等でも広がっていますけれども、合計、300人組手って言っていいかわかりませんけれども、そのぐらい、その合宿にわたって300っていうこの膨大なその数、っていうのをこなしてこられた人もいっぱいいて、それを成島師範から見て、どうだったのかっていう質問なんですけれども、なぜこれを聞くかと言いますと、パット先生自体が、テニオ先生と、連合会の、大会で、一緒に実は戦ったこともあるぐらいですし、その後仲良くしているという、こともあり、その強さをすごい感じるのと、いい意味で、それも成島師範から見て、どういう合宿だったのかっていう簡単で結構ですので、教えていただければと思います。
私はずっと、極真会会に所属していて、すごく極真以外は、認められないというような、閉鎖的な、ある意味閉鎖的な、環境にいて、そこから離れたときに、どんな自分が存在するのかを全然わからない状況だったんですね。そんな中で、そのスペインのティネオ先生から、合宿に参加してくれっていう、オファーがあって、それをその時の自分、素直に受け入れるというか、なんかもう楽しそうだなっていう、印象があって、行ってみて。で、実際自分が今まで、参加してきたキャンプっていうのは、名だたる、師範がそこに行って、空手を伝えるみたいなキャンプが ほぼそういうキャンプなんですけれども、そのティネオキャンプは、本当にこう、いろんな流派の極真が、もうほとんどの極真、空手、フロントコンタクト空手って言われるような団体がドンと集まって、で、みんなでこう楽しむような、すごくそういう印象があって、それもすべて、ティネオ先生のこう力というか、影響力というか、そういった彼の魅力にこうよってこう引き集まった人たちが、こう3日間にわたって、組手を1日100回ずつ、で、最終的には、こう、最終日には100回連続でやるんですけれども、すごくお互いのこう、空手をこう、尊重し合って、ただ、みんなが勝手に集まったっていうよりも、それぞれのこう、団体を尊重しながら、それで、個人をこう、尊重しながら、こう、みんなの自分個人個人の空手を楽しみ合うような、すごく組手に特化してハードな、あの、内容なんですけれども、すごく楽しい、カルチャーショックを受けた、キャンプですよね。で、それに去年、今年とこう参加させていただいて、本当にこう、楽しかったっていうのが、もう率直な意見で。
ありがとうございます。Yeah, so there's a lot to digest there, and put it simply, I think the key word that Narushima Shihan is using now is the fun factor to enjoy karate is what came through in his explanation now. And his impression of the whole camp was that there were no borders. There were a lot of different organizations, a lot of full contact karate or different Kyokushin organizations. And it was the aura and the attraction that Tenio Sensei could sort of project that brought it all together. He was really the gel or the, that glue that brought everyone together. And what Narushima Shihan was especially sort of impressed with was this aura of mutual respect, that everyone was there to enjoy themselves. Now, camps in Japan, and I've experienced these over the years as well. It's a very rigid, very sort of controlled environment. And this goes back to at the beginning of his answer in the question, Narushima Shihan just said that when he was with Kyokushin originally in his original sort of organization, he felt very, what's the word I'm looking for here? Smothered or closed. It's kind of like in Japanese history, Japan went through 200 years of what was called the Sakoku Jidai, right? Where they closed the country for 200 years. It felt a bit like that. It was closed off to the rest of the world. So he didn't have an opportunity to see what his karate meant outside of those boundaries.
Right.
So in that regard, he's grateful that he had the opportunity last year and this year to join that camp. Because what he felt was that each of the factions could come together, mutually respect each other's viewpoints and positions, and just go there for the pure objective of enjoying it all, and he said that, over the days they did 300 rounds in total. The last day he just said was 100 rounds. And he said that that's something to behold, that everyone was there enjoying that experience, not dreading it.
Very good.
It was a bit of a culture shock, he said, in terms of opening his eyes to how people can play nicely in one big, huge stampede. I use this expression a lot. Because we're so controlled by protocol and etiquette here in Japan when it comes to camps and organizations, that he's sort of alluding to the fact that we can learn to just enjoy the experience. And that's certainly what he took away from it. And he learned a bit more about himself, he was saying. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's his take on the camp.
Thank you. That was great.
Good. はい、僕も長年、日本で、ずっと修行してますけれども、師範がおっしゃるように、その閉鎖的っていうか、礼儀正しさもあって、 決まりもあって、形っていうものでどうしてもそれに、やっぱりこう、縛りがかかってしまうんですけれども、海外に行くと、まあ今僕もその英訳の中で強調しましたけれども、一つのキーワードはその空手を楽しむということを思い出させてくれるような、そういうイベントに出ると、もっと自分も指導者でありながら、もっとやりたくなるっていう、この気持ちも自然と、起こるわけ。まあ、っていうか、蘇ってくるんですよね。そういう解釈でよろしいですか？
はい。
ありがとうござい
ありがとう
ます。
ございます。
はい。で、まあ、長年、そういう、まあ、ね、修行の中で、まあ、先週時代から今度指導者となって、で、今、その、成島道場っていう、まあ、トップという、この、大きな責任をですね、持ちながら、まあ、海外にこういうふうによく行かれるようになってから、今後、成島師範のこの次のこの目標って言いますか、またそれは道場生に伝えていくものとして、何か特に最近考えるようになったのがありますでしょうか？
ここ最近というわけではないんですけれども、僕が、空手に、始める、ようになった、まあ、きっかけっていうのは、まあ、うちの親父になるんですけれども、まあ、父からは、常に空手が一撃だっていう、教えのもとをずっと育ってきまして、で、実際、自分もそれを求めて、で、試合でも勝つことよりも、倒すことを目的にやってきまして、で、実際そういう自分の、戦う、意識に共感していただいた方々が、今、世界にいらっしゃって、その人たちから、依頼を受けて、赴くような状況になったのも、結局自分の空手、一撃で倒すというものが、皆さんに影響を与えたのかなと
うん
思ってますし、で、その価値観っていうのはやっぱり自分の大切にしているものだし、今後また自分が自分として、皆さんに伝える何かがあるんだとすれば、やっぱり空手は一撃なんだよ、
うん。よし。
ものをもっと求められたことに対しては、伝えていきたいなと。だからこそ、こ自分を守るためのものであり、っていうことにつながるのかなと。そういったところに、空手の価値観というものを、こ置いた中で皆さんに伝えていきたいなっていうのがあります。
ありがとうございます。So the question I just asked now is with Narushima Shihan's experience, his success as a fighter over the years, and now in his role as an instructor. I just asked him what his personal goals and future development, what that holds for him after he's been able to open his eyes to what's going on around the world by different organizations, etc., and also his experiences in Japan. And to that question, he said that his personal goals haven't really changed over the years. He started karate as a young child because his dad was running a dojo, so he had no choice. And he started that, but as he got into it more, one of the pillar aspirations of every Kyokushin karateka is ichigeki, right? That one strike. So there's different words around it. Ichigeki hisatsu, that one strike certain death. But in a fighting context, ichigeki de taosu is the Japanese. So to knock a person down with one strike. And he said that's something he still holds very important, or close to his heart now, is trying to pursue that, because it's an ingrained value within him now that he doesn't want to let go of. And after going overseas and seeing that so many other people hold that dearly to their hearts. I mean, Tilio Sensei in Spain is one prime example, but says wherever you go, that, there are people that are pursuing the same value, the same goal. And so for him, he wants to make sure that that is conveyed properly.
Cool.
It's conveyed from his own experience. He sees that's the way he can contribute by passing on what he has gained over the years. But it's not something that he's going to let go of himself. He's still going to pursue it himself. And while this is talking in terms of, for example, fighting when we are on the offensive, he said by polishing that value, that by pursuing that as a goal, you actually learn to actually defend yourself as well. So it goes both ways, but it's a core value, it's a core goal that he will carry on pursuing throughout the rest of his karate life.
Very good. I've got one here, Shihan. So that's great. Really appreciate it. And what I'd like to get a grasp on, and it segues in a way of his maturity and obviously his influence, as he can start to see now, everyone respects him globally, is the influence that Sosai Oyama had with him, and how it's, again, he's had his father as an influence, but obviously Sosai, and the legacy that we all want to uphold. And again, in another segue of Ichigeki is the strongest karate. How is he portraying that message? How would he like us, if we were at his recent camp, what was he kind of saying in that means for us to take away as well? Hope that made sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
4 questions in there.
Yeah, good. はい。パット先生からの質問なんですけれども、今、成島師範の、答えを聞いて、ふと思ったのは、やはり、この極真空手を作ってくださった総裁の影響。成島師範の場合は、総裁のその大きな影響もあれば、当然お父様の影響もあるかと思いますけれども、やっぱり極真空手っていうのは、その世界最強の空手を目指すべきであって、この一撃で倒すっていうのは、それに当たるかと思いますけれども、総裁の影響はどんなものでしょうか？成島師範のこの空手人生の中で、どういったような、影響を受けられたのか、そしてそれをどういうふうにやっぱり総裁が作ってくださったこの極真空手を世界のみんなに、やっぱり正しく守る、さらに強くしていくために、どういうこの考え方を持てばいいのかっていう、実は2つ質問あったんですけれども、その辺はいかがでしょう？総裁の影響と、それからこの世界最強の空手を今後守っていくにはどうすればいいのか、お答えいただければと思います。
自分の空手の始まりは父親なんですけれども、また、その父の空手の始まりも実は総裁なんですね。で、じゃあどういうことがあったのかっていうと、うちの親父が子供の頃に若い時代の総裁にお会いしたんですね。たまたま父の母親、うちの僕のおばあちゃんにあたるんですけれども、が事業をしてて、で、その事業相手のなんていうんですかね、ボディーガードのような総裁がいらっしゃって、で、その若い時代のとにかくその総裁とお会いする機会があって、じゃあどんなそのシチュエーションだったかっていうと、部屋の片隅でくるみを拳でバーンと割って、食べてるような、ちょっと不気味な、すごく、なんか、不思議なオーラをまとった、その総裁がいらっしゃって、で、坊ちゃんこっちにおいでっていうふうに言われるんですよね。そしたら、ちょっとコイン持ってないかって言われたらしいんですよ。で、その時に、なんでコインなのかなと思いながら、持ってた、お金を差し出すんですね。そしたら、そのコインを目の前でぐっと曲げてもらったらしいんですよ。すごい人だなという。はい。で、それが初めてできっかけで、総裁の小さい、父親が総裁からものすごい影響を受けて、 で、ぜひ自分も空手をやりたいっていうふうに申し出たんですね。
そうそ
そしたら、坊ちゃんはまだこの先いろいろ、あるから、私のような、人間になりたいんじゃなくて、私のような人間を雇えるような人間になりなさいと。そういうふうに、こう、総裁からおっしゃっていただいて、すごく、親父がこう成長する間に、こう、そういう言葉が、すごく大きな影響力を与えながら成長してきたようなところがあるみたいですね。そういう親父にこう、自分は総裁はこういう人なんだっていうことで、ずっと影響を受けてきて、この教育を受けてきて、総裁っていうのは自分の中で神様ですね。で、空手をこう、日本以外のとこ、本当にもう地球の裏側まで行った時にでも、総裁のことみんなしてる。ね、実際にこういう空手をすることで、こういった方々と、こう、お会いすることができたり、こう、分かり合えることができるのも、すべて総裁のおかげというか、総裁の影響力を常に感じますよね。
そうですね。やはり、この KWU とかもの中身を見て、まあ先ほど、師範もおっしゃってましたけれども、内容も良くて充実してて、やっぱりそういう意味では、総裁が作ってくださったこの極真空手を、みんなが自分なりにこう、守ろうとしてるとか、さらにいいものにしていこうっていう、そういうのは伝わって、まあ伝わってきたんですかね。
はい。本当にみんなのものだっていう、誰かのだけのものじゃなくて、みんなが大切にしているものであり、そこの先にあるのは総裁の意思というか。
ありがとうございます。Yes, so asking, so okay, I get to tell you what he said now. So the influence of Sosai really goes back to Narushima Shihan's father.
Okay.
And he just told me a story of when his father was a young child. Actually, the connection came through Narushima Shihan's grandmother, who was running a business. And one of her staff actually worked as a bodyguard for Sosai back in the day when he was young. So the connection sort of started there. And when Narushima Shihan's father was a young kid, he had the opportunity to meet Sosai through that connection. And he said, here's this person with this aura who's crushing walnuts with his hand, bare hand. And he said, you know, he was a bit standoffish. He was a bit scared. But Sosai talked to his father, said, come over here. Says, here, let me show you a trick. He says, have you got any coins in your pocket?
Bends the coin.
So yeah, and he bent a coin in front of him, you know. And so his father got to know what Sosai did, what his karate was about, and he said, I want to train under you.
Yeah.
And he said the influence of Sosai is massive because what Sosai said to Narushima Shihan's father was, he said, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be better than me.
Yeah, right.
You know, in the future, if you start your own business, I want you to be so successful you can hire someone like me as your staff. So overtake me, you know, put everything into what you do. And so Narushima Shihan is talking about this educational influence that Sosai also had on people. Yeah. So, you know, that's a story that obviously Narushima Shihan was told by his father. He then was, you know, pushed into the world of Kyokushin Karate, had his own chance to train and to see it firsthand himself. But it's that initial story and personal experience of his father that really pushed him to really look at it holistically, you know, and just the legacy of Sosai, as Narushima Shihan just said now, is that what he feels is through his trips overseas is that everyone is trying to maintain, not only maintain Sosai's legacy, but add to it, add value to it. And he says he really feels that from what he's experienced so far, that it doesn't matter what the faction or the organization is. If you have the right people in it, they're doing it for the right reasons. And that's all due to what Sosai created for us. And
Yeah.
so we should always be thankful of that. And one thing he said in his answer there is that Sosai wanted Kyokushin Karate to be not just his karate, but to be everyone's. And he said that holds true today, that when you join the Kyokushin Karate journey, you're adding value to it, and it's your Kyokushin as much as it is the organization's Kyokushin. So he really feels that is something, a value, a mindset that has to be maintained moving forward. So that's just a little episode of the influence of Sosai, yes.
Very good.
今、成島道場っていうところで、KWU も、これからその所属という形で、いろいろまた日本でもですね、活躍されるかと思いますけれども、成島師範のところで、その一撃で倒すっていうのにも重みもかけながら、護身術であったりとか、そういったようなものにも、もともとこの要因塾っていうところは、フルコンタクト、ですね、に、その組手スタイルはフルコンタクトでありながら、稽古体系は伝統的なものも重要視するっていうふうに理解してますけれども、今でも、成島師範がメインにこう活躍されている中で、そういう形態はそのままでしょうか？
そうですね。何も変わらないというか、自分が歩んできた道をからガラッと何かを変えるってことはないですし、自分がこう得てきたものをこうなんだろう付け加えながらこう歩んでる感じですよね。からの稽古体系、総裁がこう大事にされていたこう稽古体系もそうですけれども、で先ほどちょっとまだお伝えしてなかった部分で言うと、総裁のから何を得たかというと、総裁からはとにかく夢を与えていただいたっていう。中でこう常にこう日々の活力というか、活力であり、またこの先に自分が進んでいくための目標を与えてくれたような、そのための力を与えてくれた。そのためにじゃあ自分たちは何をするのかっていうと、日々諦めないこと。これが極真なのかなと。
いわゆるオスの精神ですよね。
そうですね。
オス。ありがとうございます。So I just asked him with his departure from Aiko, one taking over his father's dojo, which is a creation of many things. The kumite is Kyokushin Karate full contact style. It also places a lot of emphasis on maintaining tradition as well. So, he is continuing on that path, but he just said now he's trying to add to it through what he's experienced throughout his own karate life. So one thing he said there was that the reason he's able to do this is because the biggest influence that Sosai had on Narushima Shihan was he gave him the opportunity to dream big.
Nice.
And that is something he is thankful to this day. And it goes back to Osuno Seishin, never give up.
Yes.
Dreaming big, part of that is that internal mindset that you go through challenges and hardships, but it's how you come out the other end. So, you learn from those, and what you do from there is up to you. And that's what Sosai gave him, was that ability. He calls it chikara, okay, which is strength, we know, but it also can mean ability in English. Sosai gave Narushima Shihan the ability and the strength, I use it in both ways, to dream big and to never give up. And so that's something else he wants to pass on to anyone that trains with him, whether it be in his dojo in Japan or with the connections he makes moving forward overseas.
I've got one. It'll be a quick one in an extent. As he reminisces a little bit here, we obviously are influenced by his fighting, right? He was lightweight to an extent. His speed was phenomenal. What's an emphasis that he is sharing with his students or fighters in a way that we should, put more attention to? Now, it's a complex question because there's different weights, but it's more of has he got a tip or something for us to continue to strive for? Yes, we've got the Ichigeki side of things, and every time he fought, geez, was he looking for the kill? Absolutely, right? But nowadays, with his expertise in it, what is he saying that we're missing? What are we? Is it still the knockout? Is it with the leg? He had everything. He was so rounded. Does he? Shihan Takuma references stamina and power and technique as key influences around our training. Does he feel that? What is he still pushing that as well?
Okay, all right. Yep.
There
Okay.
you go.
簡単にまとめますと、やっぱり成島師範の影響が、引退されてからだいぶ経ちますけれども、やっぱり、この SNS の力もあり、選手時代のその映像もたくさん、今でも見ることはね、YouTube であったりとか、見ることはできますけれども、やはりこの選手育成の中で、軽量でも中量で、どんなそのウェイトでも通じるこのマインドセットっていうのは、成島師範はその一撃で倒すと。で、スピードも力もすべて、私たちから見れば、これ以上超えられるものはないぐらい、圧倒されますけれども、どんなウェイトでも、その通じるもの、この選手育成の中で、この大事にしてるこの教えっていうのはあれば、簡単で結構ですので、教えていただければと思います。
なかなかそれは難しいところでもあるんですけれども、とにかく、自分の空手は一撃というものがあって、それに沿った、作り上げてきた、プログラムというか、そのためには何が必要だよ、どんな精神的に、自分を置かなきゃいけないかとか、その体力的にも技術的にも、精神的にも必要なところがあって、で、じゃあそれをどうやって、育んでいけばいいかなっていうのも、すごく難しいテーマであるんですけれども、それはそれ、やっぱり個人個人で、アプローチが違ってくるというか、結局じゃあ何が言いたいかっていうと、空手っていうのは、ある人がそれを学びたいと思ったときに、空手を通して自分を形成していくというか、自分の枠を広げていく。だからその自分の枠を固めていくんじゃなくて広げていくっていう、もう常に挑戦ですよね。
おす、おす。
この自分に足りないところをしっかりと加えていく。ごまかして補っていくというよりも、自分に足りないところを常にバージョンアップしていくような。そこで自分に気づいて、自分の良さを理解しながら、自分の弱さもちゃんと理解して、で、成長していくという。その中でじゃあ自分がどんな組手、どんな空手をしていきたいのっていうことが、やっぱりそれぞれのテーマであると思うので、その中で自分の価値観は、空手は一撃なんだよ。ただ、とはいえ、その選手というのは、その限られた時間の中で、誰よりも動けて、誰よりも攻撃ができるような場所っていう、期間っていうのを持たなきゃいけなくて、それを誰よりも動いて、誰よりも攻撃だからついて蹴ってっていうのを求めなきゃいけない期間っていうのがあるんですね。でもそれが必ずそこから減らしていく作業っていうのが絶対に必要。何が言いたいかというと、3分間の間に1000発叩く。それを繰り返し稽古しなきゃいけないんですけども、それはいずれ1000発から900発。これが100発。で、強いては一発になるような方向性でいかなきゃいけない。
ありがとうございます。
だからこそ空手なのかなっていう。
そうっす、そうっす。終わりがないということですよね。常にこう、次をこう目指すっていう、そう。
はい。
まあ、総裁の言葉にもありますように、その部の道における自己反省は常に練達の機会となるっていう、その言葉もあるかと思いますが、それにもやっぱり当たるわけですよね。
そう
稽古の中でも、まあ、今おっしゃったように減らしていく中でも、どんどんどんどんこの一撃に絞っていくとはいえ、やっぱり、毎回毎回しっかり自己反省をして、さらにこう上を目指していくっていうこのプロセスが大事だということですが、それも海外に行かれて、こういう合宿とか参加して、海外のこの修行者もそれが理解できているというふうには感じましたか？
なかなかですね、その短期間にそういったものを、お伝えするって、なかなか難しいんですけれども、だから、その突端の技術を、あの、紹介するだけには、だけしか、こう、今の、状況では、こう、作り出せていないんですけれども、その中で、こう、もう一つ踏み込んで、あの、自分の空手を、こう、求めたいって方に対して、こそれにお答えするような場所っていうのを今後作っていきたいなっていうのを考えてます。
ありがとうございます。Yeah, so going back to answer that question there, Pat, he started off by saying it's actually a really tricky question to answer, that, there isn't a one size fits all.
Yeah.
But, like you referred to with Koketsu, with Takuma, right?
That's-
Yes, stamina, power, technique, all of that is really important. And that goes across all weights.
yeah.
But it's all about your own self-analysis as well. And with that, he's talking about the mental side, knowing
Mhm.
your limits and seeking to go beyond your limits each time.
Mhm.
And so, when we talk about this ichigeki,
Mhm.
you're not just training for ichigeki from the beginning. You
Mhm.
start with, say, 1,000 punches.
Yes.
Okay, and you might have you might sort of simulate a 3-minute fight time,
Yes.
try and get out 1,000 punches in 3 minutes. Okay, and that's building your stamina. Okay, then you reduce it and you go down to 500, and now you're focusing on the power, and then you might go down and you might do 100, and it's the power and the technique because you've already built your stamina.
Yeah.
But what you're actually doing at the same time is you're building that mental toughness
Yes.
because you're pushing yourself. It's like anything we do. It's like going to the gym, doing weights.
Yes.
You know, repetition, but knowing your limit and pushing beyond that. So,
Yeah. Good
you know,
example.
he said that with karate, you're really looking to cultivate, and it's in our dojo-kun as well, the spirit of self-denial, that you're trying to continuously push and improve, that there is no ceiling,
Verse.
that once you've gone through one ceiling,
Yeah.
it's like a 60 floor
Yeah.
rise building. You go through the first floor and you've got the second floor ceiling next. So each time that there
Right.
is no end to it. There is no end to it. So it's
Very
about
good.
recognizing your weaknesses. And this goes back to one of the 11 mottos of Sosai, where we contemplate. Because contemplation, self-contemplation or reflection is a chance for improvement. And that's something I added to midway
Nice reminder.
with in the path of the martial way.
Yes.
One of the self-contemplation or self-reflection is an opportunity, is always an opportunity to improve. And so there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer to it, but just knowing your core, working on your core,
Yeah.
and constantly setting new goals and constantly pushing forward is a way that you can never perfect. Narushima Shihan said, you can never hit the ultimate ceiling. There's always another floor to deal with. And recognizing that helps you see where your weakness and where your strengths are on that certain level you are now.
And
So that you can
pursuing
fit
it,
in your goal.
pursuing it.
Yeah.
kind of gesture that, if you don't mind, that's how I reflect on that. Shihan, let him we got roughly 5 or so minutes, so I reckon at this stage the floor's yours in just asking another question and then summarizing the great conversation, and we're appreciative.
Good. あっという間にこの時間は経ってしまいますけれども、
はい。
こうして日英でやるということは、最初は字幕を考えてたんですけど、やっぱりこの生の声ってその場でやっぱり伝えていくっていうのがですね、気持ちも伝わりますし、成島師範が大事にされていることも十分伝わりました。またもう一回呼びたいというのもありますし、いくつかテーマを決めて、またいろいろと学ばせていただきたいとは思いますけれども、最後に日本にこれから来られる、来る機会がある、極真空手家、にですね、日本で稽古するなら、こういうことを大事にしてほしいっていう、何かそういったようなアドバイス、礼儀正しさでも、その礼儀作法でも結構ですし、何でも結構ですけれども、せっかく来るんだったら、こういう心構えを持ってほしいっていう、もしそういうアドバイスがあれば、ぜひ教えていただきたいと思います。
難しいところではあるんですけれども、何でも学びたいと思う気持ちには、素直さが必要ですし、何でも受け入れる、空手で言うとオスの精神ですね。そういったところが必要であって、で、必ず求めていくところには、精神性ってものが必ず現れて、それについて自分がどういうふうに取り組むかってことがすごく大事なテーマであると思いますし、だから、素直に単純に、日本だからとか、場所がここだからっていうよりも、常にどこに行っても自分の意識をフラットに保ちながら、できた、起こった事柄、すべてを自分の糧にするというか、本当に日常の空気するだけでも、全然、違うと思うので、その時に感じた自分っていうものをすごく大事にしてもらいたいなっていう思い。で、ちょっと話また戻ってしまうんですけれども、どうしても極真空手っていうものはフルコンタクト、結構ハードですし、で、そのハードの中の頂点として選手っていうものがあって、でも選手自体っていうのはすごく短くて、その間に得るものもすごくあるんですけれども、ほとんどの方がそれ以外の、選手以外の方々が多いと思うんですね。そういった人たちのためにあるということもすごく言えると思うんですね。選手が偉いとか、選手がすごいとかそういうんじゃなくて、選手以外の方々こそ、空手にもっともっと、プライドを持っていただいて、日々の生活の中で、自分の空手ってものを構築していってもらいたいな。で、そこに年代で自分の空手があると思うんですけれども、結局そうやって行き着くところは自分を守るということにつながると思うんですね。相手を攻撃するということよりも。だから、年齢がいったら、ハードでできないっていうんじゃなくて、年齢がいけばいくほど、空手を理解して、若い人たちとも、自分を表現しながら、自分を守りながら、相手を尊重しながら、楽しめる空手ができるんじゃないかなっていうのが、僕の理想としてあります。そういったものを個人個人で求めていただけたらなっていうのがありますよね。
歩み寄りの場でもありますし、やっぱりね、今おっしゃるように、選手を目指す人もいれば、自分の人生を通じて、さらに自分にとってプラスになる部分は何かっていう、そういうのがきちんと認識できるような、この空手に対する考え方を持つことが大事ですよね。ですから場所は、日本であろうと、 海外であろうと、そこを自分にとってこの空手とはどういう意味を持つものなのか、まあ空手に先手なしっていうね、言葉もありますけれども、今おっしゃるように自分を守る、それが稽古を通じて守るっていうのもあれば、一方、道場から出てから日常生活の中でどう自分を守るかって、日常生活にどう当てはめるかっていう話ですよね。
はい。
ありがとうございます。じゃあ、
守るということで表現しましたけども、自分をどう表現するかということですね。
じゃあちょっと通訳してみます。あり
は
がとう
い、すいません。
いいえ、大丈夫です。So the last question I asked before we end today is, does Narushima Shihan have any advice for any Kyokushin practitioners coming to Japan? You know, things to be aware of, careful of, or, advice on an approach to training in Japan. Narushima Shihan's answer was, in a way, very simple. It's Kyokushin Karate is Kyokushin Karate no matter where you go. So it's all about the attitude that you possess when you go to a new place. And that's based on a foundation of respect.
Mhm.
It's also based on a foundation of being open to difference. That we're not robots, not everyone does everything the same way.
Yes.
But what we all share is this pursuit of, we're trying to pursue the true meaning of osno seishin. And, that spirit of perseverance. So when you do come to a new place, remember to, be respectful, to be open, because karate is a chance to express yourself.
Excellent.
And, Narushima Shihan was a great fighter for a number of years, but as he said just now in his answer, your time as a fighter is short-lived
Yes.
in the big scheme of things.
Yes.
So your karate changes throughout your life as you get older and as you take on different responsibilities.
Yes.
So while we do want to be the strongest karate, that term, the strongest karate, has a multitude of meanings depending
Right.
at what stage you are in your karate life. So
Mhm.
if you're a fighter, it is that ichigeki concept.
Mhm.
But once you step out of that time and you continue on with your training, then it takes on a new meaning.
Yeah.
And there lies the chance of self-discovery. It goes back to that point of you're doing it to protect yourself, not just physically, but mentally, to become a stronger person, to become a better person.
Yes.
And we can take that expression, there is no first strike in karate, right? It kind of connects to that in a little bit, but when we step out of the dojo, okay, how has all of this hard training we've done
Right.
helped us become better people? And how can we channel that learning in different ways?
Yeah.
Instead, so by exposing yourself to a new sort of context within Kyokushin, so for example, coming to Japan,
Yeah.
you're actually adding more to your armor mentally, not just technically or physically, but that whole experience makes you a more of an intercultural person in a way, because you learn to bridge those differences by keeping that openness, that honesty, and striving to push yourself.
Brilliant.
So that you can enjoy that karate at that stage of your life. And so it takes on that personal definition.
Beautiful.
And he said, so that's one thing. He wants people to be proud of what they're doing. Not everyone's a fighter. And we must, and he said, we must respect those that don't choose the fighter path. They have still chosen the karate path.
Yeah.
And as long as they are giving it their all, they deserve as much respect.
Absolutely.
And they should be held in as a high level of esteem as others for what they contribute.
Great reminder.
To the development of what we call Kyokushin Karate. So that's how he answered that question.
That's awesome. Thank him so much from me. Let's not take more of his time, and then let's have a recap. Let's stay on Shihan Sean for maybe a couple more minutes, but if you can just, from my end, absolute respect from everyone here in Australia and around the world from me.
Okay. これで簡単にまとめましたけれども、今日は貴重な時間を割いていただいて、 また、成島師範のこの考えですとか、今までのご経験、その体験談もいろいろ聞くことができて、僕もそうですし、それからパット先生もそうなんですけど、非常に勉強になりました。ためになりました。これをぜひ、自分も改めて、いろいろ参考にさせていただきたいと思っております。これを、また、いつか、また、違うテーマでもしお時間をいただけるのであれば、またさらにいろいろとこの極真空手のその深いところ、一緒に探っていけたらと思って、今日はこの辺で話を終わりにしたいと思います。ありがとうございました。
とんでもないです。ありがとうございました。今回このような機会を与えていただいてありがとうございます。
よろしくお願いします。
どうなんですかね、うまく言えた部分もあれば、言い足りない部分もあると思いますので、またこのような機会がありましたら、ぜひ協力させてください。ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much. では、退出していただいて、はい、結構です。
わかりました。ありがとうございます。
またよろしくお願いします。
失礼します。
失礼します。
Well done.
So now people might believe I speak Japanese. There we go.
Yeah, so again, have a break. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I mean, just have a quick little second to yourself there. But we keep recording. I think it was just a perfect now chance for the next 5 minutes for you to just, again, from my end, I've seen you do this several times when I've been in Japan, but to an extent like that, wow, well done and extremely appreciated.
There you go. There's...
Geez Louise, look at that. Yeah.
That's from my interpreting days. Yeah, no, it's
it's
nice to get back on the saddle. Actually,
there you go.
To be honest, but I mean, before I forget, so Narushima Shihan, when he ended, he said that, obviously with the limited time we had, he goes, he couldn't talk about everything he wanted to, but he's definitely keen, and this is straight from his mouth.
Yeah.
He's definitely keen to come back on at a later stage with a different theme to explore things a bit more. But wow, what a guy.
Yeah.
Just a really humble, nice human being. And I say that not just because I'm in awe of what he's achieved, but this is the first time I've had a chance to talk to him like this. And I was as nervous as hell,
Good on you.
When I speak Japanese, I switch into Japanese mode, and it's all about this vertical hierarchy. But one thing he said, he goes, when he was with the IKO1, one thing he said was, it was just so bound by rules and regulations that he felt rather smothered or claustrophobic.
Yeah.
He didn't realize he felt that until he stepped outside, and, he's in deep gratitude of Filio Shihan for getting him into the KWU. But man, what just a humble guy who just, and he explains things in just a real easy way. I probably made it sound more difficult than it was, but he really just speaks from the heart. It was very, very enlightening.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, listeners, let's just appreciate a second, Shihan Sean, to an extent. We had this, I had this vision a long time ago, and there were times of sharing with Shihan Sean due to our friendship for a long time. But the commitment and the time and the energy all has to sync, right? And with the, time restraints that we both have and borders and so forth, there are moments where we kind of go, listeners, we, especially me with my commitments, it's like, I don't want it to be too hard. I don't want it to be, but we had a crack. We had it on our wish list. You did it. Well done. Fantastic. And listeners, we're not sure how this comes off to an extent, because now Shihan Sean wants to put some subtitles as well. So we're going to do our best, but in the flow of me asking questions, it allowed most of our Western listeners to hear the English side of it. And then it bounced off from you, but well done, super impressed.
And maybe I don't think we need subtitles, to be honest. I think because he spoke very concisely, and so there wasn't anything I didn't. I mean,
Sure,
I took a lot
sure.
of notes, but I didn't skip anything. I was
Yeah.
able to get through, I think,
Fantastic.
everything that he said. So, but yeah, let us know. What we can do is put it up as is.
Yeah,
But if
yeah, for
people
sure.
do want subtitles, then I can work on that, and we can then repost it with subtitles later on. But I mean, just for authenticness, or
Yeah,
just to keep it authentic, I should say. Perhaps we, get some feedback from the listeners. And
yeah, absolutely.
how did it come
Absolutely.
across? And this now leads into, because he is open to more discussions, this
Yep.
now leads into questions that may arise from listening to what he's originally said. We want to know more about this. I should like to ask a couple of questions that you got from a couple of the listeners as well. So hopefully we will answer some of that.
Yeah, and as you know, I saw it as I think we fit in as, again, in sharing with listeners as a debrief. We fit in probably 10 or just under 10 questions within that time frame. So as you can see, it does take, and again, you know, it is bloody hard. It is one of the hardest things I had to do with respectful guests. But you mature with it, and you find a way. And for listeners out there, our brief beforehand for Shihan, Sean and I was, you gotta have fun. You gotta have authenticity with it, and you got to see how the guest responds. Sometimes the guest may not share too much, or may not be open enough, or some are very, very open, and you know, that's where some episodes can go for 2 hours, 3 hours. But the flow of this Kyokushin Shuffle is to reconvene and see how our good friends and guests are in 2-3 months time. So well done to you, congratulations, really appreciative. Listeners, I hope you've all appreciated that. And again, Shihan Sean's got many other guests in mind. They are not easy fellows to get a hold of, but and again, a really a good job from me.
Us.
Well done. All right, a big us, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
I'm going to push it even more now. We're going.
Remember, click like, subscribe.
Yeah, all that.
Feedback.
Because I've got. I'm going to share a stat with everyone just for the sake. So, and it blew me away. So we have over 1,000 people that are listening to this. You know, we have over 2,500, 3,000 listeners per month of the last 2 months. Of that, 1,000 are not subscribers, so they're just floating around. Which blew me away, because I was like, oh shit, I better take a little bit more interest in that side of it. But I've never wanted to be driven by that. I've always wanted to be driven with this and giving back. So on that note, to continue it, we'd love your support. Continue on sharing it and letting people know what we're about. So a big us, keep training hard. Secret is sweat, everyone. Big us. Thank you, Shihan Sean.
Thank you.